Hey Cowboys Nation, today we've got some devastating news out of Dallas. The Cowboys defense has taken a major hit with Demarcus Lawrence suffering a Lisfranc injury and Micah Parsons dealing with a high ankle sprain. Both players could miss significant time, and with some tough games ahead, Dallas' chances of staying competitive this season are on shaky ground. Let's break down what this means for the team moving forward. The Dallas Cowboys are facing a serious challenge following Thursday night's game, where two of their defensive stars, Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, went down with significant injuries. Despite a hard-fought 2-0-1-5 win over the New York Giants, the victory came at a steep cost. As the Cowboys look to regroup, they must now navigate the next few weeks without two of their key pass rushers, raising questions about their ability to stay competitive in the NFC. Let's dive into what this means for the Cowboys, especially with a brutal schedule ahead. Demarcus Lawrence's Lisfranc injury. The most concerning news for Dallas revolves around Demarcus Lawrence, the veteran defensive end, who suffered a Lisfranc injury to his right foot. Lisfranc injuries, especially in a physical sport like football, are notorious for sidelining players for an extended period. However, there is some good news. According to reports, Lawrence's injury doesn't require surgery, as the bones in his foot weren't displaced. This means that while Lawrence will likely be out for 4 to 8 weeks, his recovery might not be as complex as initially feared. Still, losing Lawrence for up to 2 months is a major blow to a Cowboys defense that has relied heavily on his leadership and playmaking ability. Lawrence, at 32, is one of the more experienced players on the roster, and his ability to pressure quarterbacks is a cornerstone of the Cowboys' defense. Before the injury, Lawrence was off to a strong start this season, helping to anchor a defensive unit that has been a nightmare for opposing offenses. With Lawrence expected to go on injured reserve, the Cowboys will need to fill that gap. Carl Lawson, a veteran defender who has been called up from the practice squad twice this season, could step in. Lawson has been productive, contributing with 14 tackles, 10 quarterback pressures, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble. While Lawson has shown flashes of promise, replacing a player of Lawrence's caliber will be no easy task. Micah Parsons also out with a high ankle sprain. If losing Lawrence wasn't enough, the Cowboys also saw Micah Parsons, their all-pro linebacker, go down with a high ankle sprain during the same game. High ankle sprains can be tricky. They vary greatly in recovery time depending on the severity, but Parsons is expected to miss at least a couple of weeks. This injury leaves the Cowboys without their top 2 pass rushers at a critical juncture in the season. Parsons' absence compounds the challenge for a defense that's been built around its ability to disrupt opposing quarterbacks. The reigning Defensive Rookie of the Year has been a dominant force, and his versatility allows the Cowboys to deploy him in various ways, whether it's rushing the passer or dropping back in coverage. Without both Lawrence and Parsons, the Cowboys are heading into the next stretch of games at a severe disadvantage. This puts immense pressure on the rest of the defense, as well as the offense, led by Dak Prescott, to step up. A grueling schedule ahead for the Cowboys. Looking ahead, the road doesn't get any easier for the Cowboys. In Week 5, they face the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, who boast one of the top defenses in the league. The Steelers' offense, led by dual-threat quarterback Justin Fields, has been rejuvenated, making this a tough matchup even under the best of circumstances. Without their top pass rushers, the Cowboys will need to rely on their depth and hope for a strong showing from their secondary to contain Fields. The challenge doesn't stop there. In Week 6, Dallas hosts the Detroit Lions, a team that's been in the Super Bowl conversation and is just starting to hit its stride offensively. The Lions have been one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC, and with the Cowboys' defensive line in shambles, they will need to find ways to slow down Detroit's high-powered offense. Following these 2 games, the Cowboys head into a much-needed bye in Week 7. However, if Lawrence and Parsons aren't ready to return by then, things could get even tougher. After the bye, Dallas will face the San Francisco 49ers, Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles, and Houston Texans. These are all teams with playoff aspirations, and the Cowboys will need to find ways to stay competitive without their defensive stars. What can the Cowboys do? With both Lawrence and Parsons sidelined, the Cowboys' front office will need to explore options to bolster their defensive line. One potential solution could be to dip into the free agent market or make a trade. The Cowboys may also lean on their younger players to step up in these crucial weeks. Defensive coordinator Dan Quinn will have his work cut out for him as he attempts to adjust his schemes and compensate for the loss of 2 game-changing players. The offense, led by Dak Prescott, will also need to elevate its game. The Cowboys have struggled with penalties and inconsistency, but if the defense is short-handed, the offense must carry a heavier load to keep Dallas in games. CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, and the rest of the offensive weapons will need to find ways to capitalize on scoring opportunities and limit mistakes. Can the Cowboys survive this stretch? The upcoming weeks could define the Cowboys' season. While they've managed to claw their way back to a 2-2 record, the absence of Lawrence and Parsons could spell disaster if the team isn't able to adjust quickly. Dallas will need to rely on depth, resilience, and smart game planning to navigate through this challenging period. The Cowboys have the talent, but in the NFL, injuries can change everything. How they respond to this adversity will determine if they remain a contender in the NFC or if this season becomes another disappointment for the fan base. Stay tuned. Cowboys Nation, this season is about to get very interesting.